In this video, we're going to talk about 3 signs God is getting ready to send you your kingdom spouse or reveal the kingdom spouse to you. Okay, these are 3 signs that God is getting ready to reveal your kingdom spouse or send them to you, or 3 signs that God is preparing you for marriage. However you want to look at it, that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to be sharing 3 things from my own personal life, my own personal experience, and from watching countless other men and women of God who I work around, who I see, who are married to their true kingdom spouse, how these signs were revealed to them. Again, these 3 things are the 3 commonalities that I've seen amongst everyone who is married to their kingdom spouse. Okay, and so sign number 1, I made these signs all start with C so that you can easily remember them. Okay, so sign number 1 that God is getting ready to prepare you for marriage, preparing you for that kingdom spouse, is God will close the door to the counterfeit. Okay, sign number 1, God will close the door to the counterfeit. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Okay, so in 2014, I had made up in my mind that I was going to marry a particular person. I believed all the signs were pointing to that I was going to marry this person. I thought it was God's will at that time for me to marry. Now, I didn't hear God audibly say it, but it just seemed logical. This person was a believer. This person was very spiritual. They actually got me to come back to church and actually, start building up a consistent life with God. And one night, I had one of the craziest prophetic dreams I ever had. I remember it vividly to this day. This dream happened over 9 years ago. And specifically, what happened in the dream was, I remember this woman, her son, she had a son. He came up to me. We were sitting in a church and there was nobody else there. He walked up to me and he sits down next to me. And he says, Mr. Ryan, I have some bad news to tell you. He says, my mom and I are moving away and we will never see you again. And so in the dream, I began to weep. And even as I was coming out of the dream, it felt so real that I began to weep in real life. And so I called the woman and I asked her specifically, are you moving away to this specific country, right? Because in the dream they said the specific country, and I don't want to give away this person's identity, so I'm not gonna say, but it's a country that's not in the United States. They're moving away to a specific country, and there wouldn't be no way for me to know that they were moving to this specific country at this time unless it was God revealing it to me. And so I called this person, I asked them point blank, are you moving to this country and when? And they broke down on the phone crying. They said, hey, I'm actually leaving in 3 days or 4 days. I can't remember the timeline, but it was a very short timeline that they were moving away to a different country and they were taking their son. They said that if they felt like it was in their best interest to move him away because there was some issues that they were having with the baby's father, and this would be the best way to protect them. And so again, God will close the door to the counterfeit, right? That's sign number 1. I'm not going to go into any more detail about that. Okay, so the second thing and the second sign that happens when God is getting ready to connect you to your kingdom spouse and push you towards marriage is God will draw you closer to himself, right? He will call you to himself. Okay, so C number 2, God will call you to himself. And the reason why God will call you to himself is because he understands when you are actually married to your kingdom spouse that your time is going to be, balanced between worshiping him, spending time with him, but also fulfilling the role of a husband or fulfilling the role of a wife, depending on who you are, right? And so he knows that part of the time that he has with you is going to lessen. And that's not a bad thing. God designed marriage. He understands how marriage works, right? And so this period where God calls you to himself, this could be months, this could be years, where you're being pulled so close to him, where it's almost like you're building up this bankable hours with the Lord. And so if you're feeling that call and you're feeling like God has called you to himself, or he's isolating you to him, he's pulling you closer to him, then he may be getting ready to introduce or reveal your kingdom spouse. Now, for me, my kingdom spouse was always in my life, during this period, even when the counterfeit was there, right? And so I met my kingdom spouse in 2012, and at our first date, the Lord showed me some things about her prophetically. I didn't even know that I didn't truly know that was prophetic. I think that I knew that I had a gifting. I knew that I could see different things about people. And there were certain things that I remember just at the dinner that we're having that I just called out, and she was like, "How do you know this about me?" And I was like, "Well, I believe the Lord was showing me." And I remember telling my wife, at this date, that I was a prophet. And again, I think I said this tongue in cheek. I didn't really understand what being a prophet meant at that time, and I just said it. Because there was no really other way to explain how I had this knowledge about her. And I think what the Lord was preparing me was how to be able to manage this relationship, not necessarily to say the things that I was seeing to her about herself, but so that I would know how to deal with his daughter, okay? And so God was calling me to himself. My wife has been in my life since 2012, and again, I had to get prepared. I didn't know, I've never seen a successful marriage, outside of these last 3 years of my life, being around people who are in successful marriages now, right? I have a community of people who I fellowship with that have successful kingdom relationships. And before that, I didn't even know what that meant. So God had to work on me. God had to work on my maturity. God had to work on so much of me to get me ready for my bride. And I believe God is doing that with the church. God is preparing us, whether you're supposed to get married or not. God is preparing us to meet our bride, which is Christ. And so that's a whole nother video in itself. That's a whole nother message it could preach by itself. Okay. But the third C is one of the ones I think that's important. And I think one of the ones that gets most overlooked in today's society. And again, typically, if you're a person that you're supposed to marry, it will usually be confirmed by someone who is in authority over you, someone who is like a spiritual parent, someone who can see in the spirit, typically will confirm that this person is your kingdom spouse. They will give you their blessing, their sign off on marrying this person, right? And so, one of the things that I think sometimes we overlook, we can see in the Bible, the men and women of God, or specifically the men of God, they went to their fathers, they went to those that had authority, and they asked for the blessing. They asked for the blessing to be released. And sometimes marriages are not successful because we don't follow that protocol, where somebody can just be able to spot, I don't think that one's right for you. And having enough trust and seeing the God in them, that God has put this spiritual leader in your life for a reason, to be able to decipher and to discern what's foolish for you and what's profitable for you. And so again, I know a lot of the couples at my church who have successful kingdom marriages, one of the things that happened between all those couples is the Lord confirmed the marriage to the pastor, because your pastor is going to have the word of life for you. And so I recommend that if you're not in some type of local based church, that you should be looking for a local based church, so that you can have that connection with a leader who can, see things in the spirit that you may not be able to see from your vantage point. And so these are the 3 C's. God will close the door to the counterfeit. God will call you to himself, and God will confirm it either to you, but also to a spiritual parent, someone who has authority over you, who is responsible for helping keep you on the right track. And so these are the 3 signs that I've seen in every successful kingdom marriage that I have witnessed with my own 2 eyes. These are the 3 commonalities that have never failed in any of the marriages that I know that are successful. And so if you're seeing these 3 signs, congratulations, you're on your way to be married to your kingdom spouse. And so I released a prophetic word about kingdom marriages. I'm going to link to that video below. I want you to watch it, especially if you're in this season where you believe God is calling you to marriage. I released a prophetic decree, and I released a prayer of blessing over kingdom marriages and kingdom spouses. So watch that video next. it's going to release a blessing on your life for 2024. I believe some of you guys watching this video who watch both of those videos, in the next 12 months, your kingdom spouse is going to be revealed to you. Your kingdom marriage is going to be appointed, and you are going to walk in it, and you're going to be prosperous for it. One can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. God is using leverage in this hour, and one of the leverage points is going to be kingdom marriage. We're going to see kingdom marriages blossom, because this is the first sign in the natural that Jesus Christ is returning. We are going to be married to him once and for all. And so with that being said, like this video, share this video with somebody else who needs to see it. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. God bless you. Bye-bye.